Welcome to this week's Future Toolbox podcast. We explore the Z to A of life skills, where each letter stands for a topic and essential tool to help you get ahead in life. Meet Jules and Mark, creators of the multi-award-winning Future Toolbox, and enjoy their straightforward approach to creating growth mindsets that help people turn their dreams into realities. Whether you're a teen in education, a parent, a teacher, or part of a community group, start creating positive habits from today.
Welcome to the latest Z2A podcast with me, Mark, and Jules from the multi-award-winning Future Toolbox.
Hello, welcome everybody.
Now, this is where we pick a letter and a topic and discuss how you can use our tools to improve your own personal development and life. So what's this week's letter?
We have chosen the letter Y, which stands for you, and celebrating you and your individuality. Now, individuality is one of the most important, yet I think often undervalued aspects of life. Now, it's one thing to accept that maybe you are different from others, yet it's something else to be able to celebrate your individuality, or another way for it is your uniqueness, you being you.
Yeah, and I've got a quote here, which is actually from our book, The Z2A of Life, which is Don't Get Your Neck Tattooed, of course. And it says here, your time is limited, so don't waste it by living someone else's life. Don't be trapped in living with the results of other people's thinking. And that's from Steve Jobs, the great entrepreneur, of course. And if you sort of break that down there, it says don't waste your life living in somebody else's life. So don't try and be somebody else. Be inspired by somebody else, of course. If you want to be inspired by Steve Jobs, be inspired by him, but you can't be him, can you?
No, and we are all unique individuals. But I think now more than ever before, we live in a world that seems to be constantly trying to make us conform. And this could be things like wearing the right clothes, to having the right job perhaps, and making the right amount of money to look a certain way. And let's face it, we're not even allowed to grow old gracefully anymore. We have to have things filled and lifted.
Yeah.
And I won't go into what things need lifting and what doesn't.
No, that's the thing about plastic surgery has been around for years, hasn't it? But we have photo enhancing now, which you can just press a button on your mobile phone and it changes your picture. And even the cameras now, where you can take a photo and then superimpose somebody else into that photo on certain phones. The technology is so amazing now that it seems that more and more stuff is becoming fake.
Yeah, and the pressure for us to fit in and have those enhanced, wonderful images, particularly on Instagram and TikTok and all of those sorts of things. It's really, really difficult. The pressure is huge. And if you don't fit into one group or another, then that can make you feel like you're a bit of an outsider, and then it's difficult to find your place in the world. But individuality, or being you, I believe is more than just a state of mind. I think it's a way of being.
A good analogy is to think of a beautiful painting perhaps, and think that each brush stroke that you put on the canvas, or each colour or each shape is different. And together perhaps it will create a masterpiece which will look stunning at the end. Now, the other thing to think about individuality is I might look at a painting and think, do you know what, that is absolutely stunning, I love it. You may look at it and go, it's not really for me. And that is another thing about individuality, is we're never going to please everybody. We're never going to create that masterpiece that absolutely everybody is going to love. So it is difficult to think, what do other people want? You have to move away from that and think, what is it I actually want? What is the person that I want to be?
And that's quite difficult, particularly for teenagers or growing up, because I think we mentioned earlier, the pressure really, really is on to conform. But often, like myself, I didn't conform. I didn't really know who I was or what I wanted to be. There was no niche for me, so I just ambled around. I didn't have huge groups of friends, or I didn't go to lots of groups or clubs or anything, because I didn't really know who I was. And trying to find that is difficult.
Yeah, I was very similar as well. I didn't really want to be the most popular or the best. I was happy somewhere in the middle. And you're saying about that thing about conforming. Sometimes the danger of not conforming to something is then becoming a rebel and saying, well, I'm going to go against all the rules, or I'm going to go around upsetting people, or I'm going to do everything just because that's the way I am. And you do have to be careful of that as well, because at the end of the day, whether you conform or not, you still don't want to be the person that nobody likes or people don't think great things of you. You want to be highly thought of, really, don't you?
So how do you begin to understand you, yourself, your own individuality, your own uniqueness? And I think one of the things to start with, and you can do this whether you're 8 years old, 18, 28, 58, 68, whatever, is identify what are your strengths? What is it that you do and what sets you apart from other people? Now, that can be things that you're good at and all the different wonderful qualities that make you special. I would say write down what you think your skills are and your traits that come naturally to you. And don't be afraid to ask for feedback from others if you're going to be doing this, because they will often see things good about you that you don't see yourself.
Yeah, it's easy to be negative about yourself and say, well, I'm not very good at this, or I've tried this, but somebody else is better than me. And then you fit into that either imposter syndrome or self-comparison type mindset, where you start almost putting yourself down, and you don't want to do that. You want to start celebrating your successes and skills. And that can be especially key if you're starting something new. So if you're starting to learn something new, you're starting to develop something new, or you're starting to develop new habits, it's easy then to sit back and say, well, I'm not quite getting this at the moment, so I'm either going to stop or I'm just going to plod along and think that I'm never going to be good enough. And that's not the case. You can get better and better and better at things.
Yeah, I mean, I think once you get to know yourself, and it's not about particularly the fact that you're different, it's just you all have your own uniqueness. And for example, when I think I was around about 16, 17 and I was first going to work, I remember getting described as two separate things by two separate people. One chap, I think he was a director within the business, and he actually said to me, he said, I think you're a bit of a loner, aren't you? And I was like, yes, I guess I am, because I didn't have huge amounts of friends, but I've always been happy being with myself. And for some people, they don't like being alone. They like to be around people, but I've always been quite happy whether I'm with people or whether I'm a loner. But another person in the same office once described me as, oh, you're always smiling, you're a smiler. So, and to be honest, I am a smiler, but then sometimes I know that I don't, and my face can tell 1,000 stories by what it's pulling, what face it's pulling.
Now, once you know what your skills are, it's good to celebrate them and use them to your advantage. Use them to influence maybe your career, your relationships, or even your personal development.
Oh, definitely personal development.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about the self-comparison thing earlier. We met up with some friends this morning who said, oh, well done, Jules, you had an amazing run yesterday. And they were really celebrating the fact that you ran 4K in really, really hot weather, really hot conditions. And I remember the first thing you said is, oh, well, Mark done it as well, but he did 8K and he's much better than me.
It's true.
And it is. If you
but I'm celebrating that, you are.
Yeah, and if you break it down, I'm a quicker runner than you, I'm a faster runner, I ran further than you. But what you needed to do in that situation was to celebrate your own achievement. And it's sometimes really easy to deflect that away and go, oh, yeah, but Mark's better. But what you actually then did was you took on board the strength that you actually did it. And somebody else joined in the conversation. You went, do you know what? I really enjoyed it. I was really, really pleased with my run. I felt really good. I felt really strong. And when I got to the last bit and crossed the line, it made it feel really worthwhile going through the pain barrier of running in really, really hot conditions.
I think for me, the biggest thing that I ever take away from doing an activity like that, I'll often say that I'm not the best runner, I'm not the quickest, I'm not the fastest, but I'm just incredibly grateful that physically and mentally I can show up and I can do what I call a Julesy joggle.
Julesy joggle.
At my own speed and how I do it. And I get to that finish line, I cross it. And okay, I might be thinking, oh, that was pretty tough. But the sense of achievement and joy of having done that is wonderful.
And that's certainly what you said at the end. You actually really, really reinforced how lucky you are to have your fitness and your activity levels at what they are, so you can actually go out and do that. And also that you go along to the next one, you'll do the next one, you'll use that experience to celebrate your strengths and move forward and basically pursue your goals within whatever it is you want to do within your running and have another Julesy joggle.
But, you know, everybody has something unique to offer. And honestly, we're just talking about running. It doesn't have to be anything like that. But going back to identifying what your strengths are, what sets you apart or makes you unique. And again, talk to other people because they'll tell you lots more than what you will tell yourself. by embracing those strengths, those skills, then that will give you better confidence, and that will again help you have success in pursuing whatever your goals may be, whether they are fitness related or particular career that you're working towards, if you're in education towards going and getting those exam results that you want. Embrace those skills, those strengths.
Yeah, I mean, you've all got unique traits that make you who you are. And we've mentioned just before that we often focus a lot on our flaws and our imperfections and are not very good at things. And another example this morning at the same group of people when we were playing paddle tennis, I have a weakness when I go to do a backhand volley from a certain side of the court. So if I'm on the right side of the court, I generally tend to hit it out. And I've done that about 2 or 3 times today. And I remember just saying to the guy I was playing alongside at the time, that's my weak shot. But I'm working on it and trying to get better at it. The next game, I had to play a backhand volley on that same side of the court, and I knocked it down. It fell exactly where I wanted it to land, and we won the point. And I remember saying to him, yes, I've got it. And straight away, by saying that, yes, I've got it, I didn't then dwell on the last 3 shots that I'd mishit and lost the points on. So it is sometimes thinking about that mindset. But if the shot comes to me and I say, oh, do you know what, I'm rubbish at these backhand volley shots, I'm going to lose them all the time. I might get lucky with one or something, but you just know that, yes, okay, that's my weakness. How can I get better? And the language was, I'm going to get this, I'm going to get this, I'm going to get this. Oh, time number 4, I actually got it. Woohoo, and celebrate it.
It's true what you just said, though. We do have our own little traits that make us who we are. And we do focus on the ones that we don't think are the best ones. However, I do think it's really important to accept these little flaws, and they are going to be just little ones. They're a part of your own uniqueness, you know, your own little personality. And then if you realise that they're there, you can learn to work with them and again try and use them a little bit to your advantage. You may not be brilliant at something, but by having a go, you're showing people the skill of not giving in.
And then go and find out from the person who is really good at it, the person who is better than you, ask them, how do I get better at this? What do I do next time to improve? How can I become as good as you are at this particular skill or this particular piece of knowledge or whatever? Teach me it. It might not be something where you've got to sit down for hours on end. You might get one little tip from one person that can go, just try this, and then you know what you've got to try. And that's generally how me and you have learned so much in the things that we've just talked about, paddle, running, playing guitar, singing, whatever it is. We've always asked people who are good at it, what is your one little tip? And that's how you get better.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a way of embracing your own individuality, your own uniqueness. It is to surround yourself with people who appreciate and support it. And this means finding friends, family members who celebrate your little quirks and differences and we have a laugh about them rather than trying to change or criticise you, because that has such a negative impact. If somebody thinks, oh, well, that's not right, you shouldn't be doing that, or constantly criticising you, it's going to make you feel really bad. So surround yourself with the people that accept and love you for who you are, and it will make you feel so much more assured and comfortable with yourself.
And I think if you flip that round the other way, if you don't like to be criticised, then don't be the person that goes and criticises somebody else as well. Because if you're going to be that person, that is now becoming part of your brand. So if you criticise somebody else, they're going to criticise you back, or somebody else is going to criticise you back. You're not going to like it. And that's about looking at your own strengths, being the person who's supportive, being the person who brings somebody on. Then you give them a bit of advice on something that you're maybe better at, and that will make you a much more well-rounded person. And people will like you for that. People will respect you for it. If you want to use the word popular, you become more popular if you want to become more popular, because people will think that's the person I want to go to. That's the person I want in my life. That's the person who inspires me. You can be the inspiration as well. So where you're looking for inspiration, be the inspiration as well.
Yeah, and everybody has their own unique journey in life. And we go back to that comparing yourself to others. Do you know, it just slows down your own progress. And again, everybody has their own strengths, their own weaknesses. And there really is no one-size-fits-all approach to your own personal growth.
So I'm going to go back to Don't Get Your Neck Tattooed and the chapter Why Is For You. And we had a little bit here on page 23, which talks a little bit about taking pride in your appearance, taking pride in yourself and looking after yourself. And there's some tips, real simple advice tips here. So number 1 says you are who you are and you have inner beauty. And after that it says take pride in your appearance. Be simple and straightforward. And that's just about you portraying the person that you are, but also just thinking not necessarily who you are on the outside, but who you are on the inside.
Absolutely. And there's a saying that says that beauty attracts beauty, but only natural beauty will win.
Oh, I like
because being natural is the best way. Be your best self and people will absolutely love you for it. Don't try and be something that you're not.
And we talked a little bit about airbrushing and all sorts of plastic surgery and photo enhancing earlier. But one thing we put here is celebrities don't really look like that. And we've always known that over the years, when you pick up a fashion magazine, they're airbrushed. And I like this one as well. It says a smile is much nicer than a pout.
Yes, and remember that got noticed in my first ever job, that I was a smiler.
A smiler, yeah.
And just remember, nobody will ever be 100% satisfied with everything, but create your own belief. Don't be afraid to show the world who you are, because you never know who you might inspire. I love that saying.
That is amazing, isn't it? Absolutely amazing.
So to sum all of this up, be yourself, because everybody else is already taken.
Well, now maybe it's time to take yourself off to our website, which is futuretoolbox.co.uk. You can find loads of tools and tips on there. We also have a YouTube channel. If you follow us on social media, we're on Facebook, Instagram and TikTok. And you can reach out to us on LinkedIn, because we are
everywhere.
We are everywhere, indeed. And we look forward to joining you on the next episode.
Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us for the Z2A of Life Skills with Jules and Mark of the Future Toolbox. Don't forget to head over to their website, which is futuretoolbox.co.uk, where you can find lots of free resources, plus a host of books in the store, as well as subscribing to the membership site. Follow Future Toolbox Instagram, TikTok and Facebook at Future Toolbox, and subscribe to their YouTube channel too.